Good morning and welcome to another great edition of Money Truth Moments. My apologies. We had a little bit of technical trouble this morning, but here we are, right? 7 minutes later, but we're sure going to give you a jam-packed show today. Let's welcome our very own money whisperer, our very own money expert, Judy Kopenbarger. How are you, Judy?
Oh, I am great, and I love technology. I am just embracing
Right?
it. So, yeah, it is so good to see you on this beautiful day. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I love the fact that we get to connect again because we're talking on about a great subject. And we started with folks talking about last week. We talked about new investments, and we're actually taking this in different layers. So today we're going to review just really quickly about the littles that we talked about last week. But today's exciting because now we get to the teenage years, right? The best years, teenage years. And we're going to learn a little bit more about investments. So what do you say we get started, Judy?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's just go over a little bit of best practices that you covered last week and how we can teach our littles about investing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with little kids, you've got to give them a structure that they understand. And, the toddler creed, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. So, with little kids, they're kind of learning empathy and they're kind of learning to see the life outside of themselves as they develop. And so, what really works for them is every time they get money, part of the money is to use for themselves, part of the money is to give away, and part of the money is for later, right? Like it doesn't even exist. It's mine, it's not mine, it doesn't exist. They understand that. So, I would say from 5 to 12, like grade school years, that's a really good system. Every time they get money, let them allocate it into money to use, money to give, and money to save. That's it. It's pretty easy. Once they get enough savings, $500, $1,000, then they can start investing it and you can work with them on that. Which brings us to the preteens and the teenage years, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and let's talk about the teenage years, right? Because now their minds are developing. Now the questions come up. Now they want to know, like, what can I do with money? And this group we're talking about is usually between 13 and 19-year-olds, right? So
Yep.
one of the key things as they're getting older now, they're asking is, what's the stock market
Stock
and
market.
how does
Stock
it work?
market. How do I get in the
Yeah,
market? What's the stock market? Yeah.
yeah. Because the big question comes up, did you ever buy Apple stock? I'm like, no, we were little. We didn't know any better, right? Had we known. So yeah, we'd be sitting here really pretty. But
How
this is
do
the
I
question.
invest? Yeah. How do I invest $1 and get 100 back next week? Right.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
what
So
they want.
that's one of the main questions is what is the stock market and how does it work? How do we explain this to the teenagers?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the media and really the financial world doesn't help make this simple. They try to make it as complex as possible so you can, pay more money. I don't know. I don't know why they make it so hard. It's really not that hard. The market is just that. Stock is an ownership in a company. So you have a little teeny tiny interest in Amazon, a little teeny tiny interest in American Airlines, whatever it is, right? You own a little bit of it. That's all stock is. The market, everybody knows market. If you've ever been to a farmer's market, probably the best example I can imagine, you go to the market, they open it from like 9 to noon, and everybody has their baskets and they go buy their apples and their peaches and their carrots and all the things that the farmers brought in that morning, right? Fresh eggs, fresh honey, all of that. And when you look at the market, you start at one end and usually go down, and there's booths on both sides. You can picture the scene, right?
Mhm.
And so you take your basket and you say, okay, I want to buy peaches today. Well, there might be 6 or 7 vendors with their little tables out there that are selling peaches. And over here, peaches are 80 cents each. Over here, they're $1.20 each. Over here, they're $1 each. Over here, they're 95 cents each, or, by the pound. So there's all these different prices at the market. So what you do is you find the person who wants to pay this amount, you match them with the person who wants to sell them for this amount, and then you have a transaction. That's all the market is. That's all the stock market is. It's the same thing. But instead of peaches and apples and bananas and honey, what you're trading is interest in companies. And it happens in most major cities around the world, right? Chicago has one. New York has the famous one that we always know, the New York Exchange. It's an exchange of stock rather than an exchange of peaches. That's all. It's not that complicated. So that's all the stock market is. It's just a place to go to buy. Now, in the old days, well, they still have the floor of the stock market. But in the old days, it was all done physically. Now, most of it is digital. So you don't really see all of the fruit being put in the baskets anymore, if
Mhm.
you will. It's all done digitally. So you just match the buyers and the sellers. And every day when you turn on the TV, if you do that, or you watch your cell phone, most people get their news on their cell phone now. But when you do that, there's all this red and green and numbers screening by. All it's doing is showing you the price that people paid for their peaches that day. What price did they pay for Amazon that day? The people that bought and the people that sold agreed on a price to trade, to exchange. What was the price? That's all the market is. Isn't that simple?
That's phenomenal. And I know, and at some point, I want you to share the story about one of your kids when they were mowing lawns. And I remember you shared this story before about the whole investment part of it, right? And
Yeah.
buying that little stock piece of the company. So I'd love to hear that story here shortly too, so folks can benefit from that. Because I think that breaks it down really, really well. And I think to the point where teenagers will be able to connect with that. But before you talk about that, talk to us teenagers, right? I'm gonna put myself in this place now.
It's been a while for us.
Yeah, exactly, right? What are the different types of investments, right? That's another question that comes up. I mean, we talked about stocks, we there's bonds, there's real estate. I mean, there's all kinds of investments, but how would you break this down for teenagers to get a better grip on it?
Yeah. Well, real estate's easy. And teenagers might not really have a big awareness of what house costs, what a home costs and what houses cost. And if you bought an apartment building, how much money is that? How long would it take me to get that much money together? They might not have a big concept for that yet because there's a lot of zeros after some of those
Mhm.
numbers. But it's pretty easy to think about, if things cost more now than they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And if you're a teenager, your lifetime, doesn't have a whole lot of experience with that. But if you're 20 or 30 or 40, things cost more now than they did 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. And if you ask your parents or grandparents, what they paid for the house that you're living in, if you've been there a while, it's a lot less than you could sell it for now. Right. So the
Yeah.
concept in real estate is that you would buy a house for, I don't know, $100,000. That's probably low nowadays, but and then, if it's worth 150,000 later, if the investment was 100,000 and now it's 150,000, you've increased, right? So that's your earning, that's your ROI, that's your how much have increased. And so that's an investment in real estate. Now, the same thing can happen with stock. We're talking a lot about Amazon today because everybody has and loves that stock, right? Or wants to have more. It's done really well and probably will for a while. So if you buy stock, let's say for $100 per share per little piece of ownership in the company, and then the value of that goes up to $120, you have increased. That's one way that you can add value, right? That you add to your investment. Another thing that happens is Amazon, every time they make a profit, they put it in a bucket and they say, we're going to share it with all of the owners. And because you own some Amazon, if you hold stock, they're going to let you be part of that kitty. When they pay out that profit, you're going to get some of that in term of dividends. So you not only have earnings and dividends that are coming in, but you have the value that hopefully will continue to increase. So several things happen when you own a stock. But that's how you can earn with stock. Now bonds are different. Bonds would be like Amazon coming to you and saying, we need to raise a bunch of money. We're going to build a brand new warehouse and it's going to be $500 million. And we need to buy some trucks, right? That's another $500 million. Big dollars with Amazon. And so we need to raise some money because we have this project, and the sooner we do it, the sooner we can get more profits into everybody's pockets. So let's raise money. Can we borrow some money from you? And we say, sure, we'll loan you some money. It's a good bet. And so we loan $1 and they promise to pay us like 5% or 8% interest for the next number of years. That would be an example of a corporate bond. So a bond is when you loan your money. A stock is when you own a piece of the company. You either own or you loan. For the most part, that's the big breakdown in investments.
So I think it's a great segment, and if you can share, take a moment to share your story about your son and his
Absolutely.
business. Yeah, I think this is a great segue to that.
Yeah, ELS. And this is, it breaks it down so simply. ELS, Evans Lawn Mowing Service. Evan is our son.
Nice.
And he's not 12 now, but at one point he was, right? So when he was 12, he came and he said, here's the deal. I am an entrepreneur and I'm going to make some money. I am going to mow lawns for all the neighbors and they're going to pay me and I'm going to get rich. It's like, okay, Evan, let's go. What do you need? Well, I need $100 to capitalize my business. Notice the word capitalize, cap. A lot of times, if you're looking at statements on your 401ks, your IRAs, you're going to see the word cap. That's short for capitalize, right? That means money to make the business grow. So he needs money to capitalize his business, $100. He's like, I don't have $100. How am I going to, I need to buy a lawnmower. I need to buy some paper and make some flyers and take them around to the neighborhood. I'm going to have to put gas in that lawnmower. Here's some stuff I'm going to need, Mom. It's like, okay, well, you need $100. How are you going to get that? I don't know. Can you loan me some money? I said, well, I'll loan you $10. Then he hits up Dad. I'll loan you $10. Then he hits up brother, sister, everybody that he knows. So he gets 10 people each to give him $10. He has his $100. He's capitalized his business. He's in business. He's ready to go mow lawns. So out there all summer long, he's mowing and he's sweating and he's making money. And every time he mows a lawn, he gets $5, right? Of course, not now it's 20, right? But so at the end of the summer, he's got $500. He's done really well. So he says, I have $500 in my company. I'm like, wait a minute. Where's my profit? Right? I loaned you $10 or I gave you $10 and I own part of that company. So I want to have some dividends for the money that I gave you, right? Because I own part of your business. You do? Yeah. So what happens to me is my $10 now, the $100 that became $500, my little piece of the pie grew. And so I'm going to get part of that value that added, right? So stock has that value. But also every time he mowed a lawn, I got a dime. And so did everybody else. So part of the profit paid out in terms of dividends. I got value, I got dividends. So he thought, well, that's great. Of my $500, there's not a whole lot left here, right? Because everybody owns part of my business. So another year goes by, here comes spring, and he says, I'm going to mow lawns again. I did pretty good last year. It's like, okay, what do you need? I need $100. But he said, I'm older and I'm wiser. I'm 13. And I'm not going to give away my equity in the business, right? I'm not going to share with you. So can I just borrow the money? I'll keep all the dividends and all the profit, but I'll just pay you a fair interest for your loan. I said, okay, here's $10. Goes to Dad. Here's $10. Everybody gives him $10. He capitalizes his business. This time at the end of the summer, he says, here's the interest. I'll give you $1 back and $10 that you loaned me. So you gave me 10, I give you 11. I'm happy. I got 10% return over 90 days, right? Everybody else that loaned him money is happy. That's bonds. When you loan money, it's a bond. When you own something, that's equity, right? That's going to be your stock. That's all there is. Isn't that so simple?
That's phenomenal. And I love the story because not only does it show his creative mind, right? But it's just how you're breaking this down. And I think a lot of us who have gone or have had teenagers or are currently dealing with teenagers, it's a great way to really just break it down very simply. And that's one of the things that a lot of our audience, myself included, appreciate when you talk to us about all of this and you share your wisdom. You make it understandable for all of us because half of this stuff, most financial folks will just talk to you and we kind of get this glazed look over our eyes like we don't want to look stupid, but yeah, exactly, we understand what you're saying. So I appreciate you taking the time sharing that great story. So let's talk about also the next question a teenager always asks is, so how can I start investing small amounts of money? How do I get started?
Yeah, well, you can start an investment account, mutual funds, maybe a stock or two with hardly any money anymore. And there's so many things online you can do. But if you went to a brokerage, they'd probably want $500 or so to start. And then it's what kind of account? Should it be just an individual account? I'm saving up for a car. I'm saving up for my first apartment. I'm saving up for when I get out of college. I want to, take a trip, go to Europe, backpacking, whatever it is. So whatever you're doing, it's either short-term or long-term investment. The horizon, like when am I going to need the money? What's it intended for? You start with the why, like what's it for, right? And so if it's very long-term, then I would recommend something that's tax-free, like a Roth IRA. Now this is D&T, do not touch. It's money you just pretend like it never happened. Pretend like you spent it. But then it's there at the other end, and time will allow it to grow and grow and grow. I think everybody is, as soon as you can work and earn some money, everybody ought to have a Roth IRA. When you're a little kid, right? You can work around the house and get paid to help with chores. So if you do that, put money in your Roth IRA. You will thank your parents later, or your grandparents later, right? Another thing that you can do is, if you want to save for college, or private school, maybe in high school or something like that, or trade school, if you're thinking you want to go to art school or learn how to fix cars or something like that, you can put money into a 529. That also grows tax free. And the difference between tax free and tax deferred, or just non-qualified, huge difference. The money just grows so much more because the earnings are not taxed every year. So the money that would have gone out for tax stays in there, and it grows for you too. And it grows for you too. And it just accelerates. So those are some things that you can do, but at least open an individual account. It's not going to give you a lot of tax benefits. Might not be a big deal, when you're starting out and your accounts are still kind of gaining momentum. They're still growing, but at least have something that is earning more than interest, because interest is always going to be very, very low. And the potential in equity, like stock and bonds, is always going to be higher than a straight interest loan or an interest investment. So think about doing that. Get started, do something. And if you have $500, or even save up all summer long or all year long, birthday money and all of that, you get $1,000, you're going to have enough to really make some money in those investment accounts.
Great advice. And, time flies when you're having fun. So we're pretty much at the end of the show. You know what that means, folks, for us. It's our money truth challenge for the teenagers. I'm trying to say it all at once on this. So I can't wait to hear what you're going to give these guys to be able to work on this week.
Money truth challenge. Say that 3 times fast.
Exactly.
Yeah. So here is your challenge. If you are this young person, I'd love for you to set up some kind of an account. Talk to your folks, or go talk to your banker. Talk to someone that you trust that really is maybe savvy about money. Might be your parents. It might be someone else in your life that has done well, and you feel like has a good handle on this. And ask them to help you open either a Roth IRA or an individual account to start putting money in there. So if you have a little bit saved up, put it in there. If you don't have it saved up, use the plan, money for now, money for soon, money for later, to get some of that money saved up in your jar or in your envelope or wherever you stash it, right? And then get it into the bank, get it into an investment account, maybe not at the bank, but somewhere decent, and get that money growing. That's your challenge if you're the young person that we're targeting, right? We're trying to help you guys.
Yep.
If you are the one who is the grandparent or the auntie or the uncle or the parent of this young adult or even teenager, then sit them down, grab the Teen Cash book that we have available. That's a great resource for this, that goes through these concepts where you can get it. And maybe some of these concepts you would like to get better, but it really helps young people go, oh, all those big words don't really matter. Here's how it really works. Here's how money moves. And here's what I need to know to really navigate this well. So help a young person set up an account so they can actually get their own statements with their own name on it from money that they've saved on their own, and start getting ownership in their financial world. That's going to help them. I'll tell you, it's not a spending issue for people later in life, or a savings issue. It's a spending issue. So if you spend the right amount and you have money left over for saving and investing and for your future, that's not going to be a problem. For most people, it's allocating the money as it comes in. So having an account where they put money in regularly and they can see it grow and they have ownership will help them earlier in life take charge of that, really, and have some autonomy over their money and not be overwhelmed by it later. That's a gift you can give them, and that's your challenge.
All right, folks, you've heard the challenge. If you have any questions, please let us know. And I want to welcome you guys. For those that are just joining us, watch the beginning of the show, because we are focusing on teenagers and investments. If you didn't catch last week, make sure you do, because we talked about the littles and how to get them started as well too. And if you're not following Judy, you need to follow her at judykopenbarger.today. All of her social media links and everything is there. We're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. with the replay on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Judy, always a pleasure. Always love learning from your wisdom. Any last parting words?
If you believe you can, you will.
All
Make it a
right.
great week.
All right, folks, until next week, take care. Take care,
Bye-bye.
Judy.